Okay, very good morning to all of you. Welcome to our third travel show, Tigers and More at Kanha, produced by Lorient Travels. I'm pleased to welcome all of you, and I would also like to inform you we did two earlier shows, Majestic Mysore on Thursday, which was also a live travel show, and Divine Pondicherry on Friday yesterday, which was also a live travel show. So today our subject is the Kanha Tiger Reserve, and I think there is no better tiger reserve in India than the Kanha Tiger Reserve, which I first visited in 1990, 30 years ago, and then subsequently visited it many times over my lifetime. The Kanha Tiger Reserve is was established as a national park in 1933 and is one of the oldest parks, and it became a tiger reserve in 1971. There is no better person to talk about the tiger reserve than Eric Dicuna, who is almost like a resident of Kanha for the past 33 years. We have with him today on the show, and I will tell you a few more details about Eric. He's a very accomplished person. He has done a lot of work on wildlife, and he started as a research assistant with the Bombay Natural History Society in 1980. He worked on various endangered species of birds in the capacity of field biologist, including the great Indian bustard and the black-necked crane in Ladakh. Eric also worked with the late Mr. Humayun Abdul Ali on cataloging of birds in the BNHS collection. Eric came to Kanha in 1986. He joined Indian Adventures as a senior naturalist and then manager at Kanha. He worked with the group for 25 years and then joined the Bagtala Jungle Lodges in 2001 as general manager and resident naturalist, and continues to be there. In 2013, he was appointed by the government as a member of the local advisory council of Kanha Tiger Reserve. He is the president of the Association of Jungle Lodges Kanha. He published several scientific notes in the journals. He is also the author of the first comprehensive checklist on the birds of Kanha titled The Birds of Kanha National Park. So I think it is fitting that Eric is the most person, probably the best person to talk about the park. And I will now ask Eric to speak a few words before we start with the presentation proper. Welcome, Eric.
Thank you, Hector. Thank you for the introduction and good morning, everyone. Well, no conference, no meetings, and no books will do justice to Kanha. Kanha is an experience. You have to live it. You have to visit. You have to experience. You have to smell the soil, smell the fresh air. Then only you can know what Kanha is. It's a very rich experience, Hector. You know how it is. Unless one visits Kanha, unless one stays here in Kanha for a few days, you cannot actually describe what Kanha is. This is an experience. It's a complete wilderness. It's a complete ecosystem. The very fact that it's a well-managed and a complete park, that itself shows what Kanha is. It's so diverse. Vegetation is so diverse. The flora and fauna, including the microorganisms, right from the basic fungi and algae and everything. It's a complete experience. So you have to visit and you have to experience what Kanha. That's all I can tell you about Kanha before we move on further.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. So I will start a small slide presentation, PPT presentation, before we go into the question answer session. And this is going to be the format of the program today. So Eric, can you tell us about this first slide before we go to the other slides?
Yeah, this is the entire map of Kanha. The dark green shaded area is the core area of the park, which is 907. And the light green shaded area is 1134, that is 1,134 square kilometers. And that little sky blue shaded little sanctuary, that is known as a Fen sanctuary, which is a satellite sanctuary, which is 110 square kilometers, which was brought under the Kanha management recently, but it has shown some tremendous and very encouraging results.
Okay, and Eric, in which part of the park is your Baktola lodges? That's a Mukhi range, right? Which part is it?
That's the Mukhi zone to the south of the, if you can see the map, it's like a butterfly, two wings of a butterfly.
Correct.
Now, the eastern wing, there is no tourism at all. I mean, it's only completely protected. The tourism happens only in the western zone, the western wing rather, and there are 4 different zones for tourism. Only 20% of the total area of the park is reserved for tourism. The rest is not touched by tourism at all.
So you are in the Samnapur range?
Samnapur is the buffer. Just above Samnapur, you will see the Mukhi zone.
Okay, the Mukhi zone. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we are in the Samnapur buffer zone, but we enter the park through Mukhi gate.
Okay, thank you. Well, a little bit about the Kanha Tiger Reserve. These are some of the pictures that I made. This is a scenic tiger reserve. Yeah. It's a very scenic tiger reserve, Kanha, and it has got plenty of vegetation. I think the vegetation predominantly is, Eric, is sal and
yes,
sal and deciduous.
There are
okay.
The sal is mostly in the meadows.
Okay.
Flat area. As you go, as you move higher up, sal is replaced by the the mixed deciduous.
Mixed deciduous. Okay, thank you. This is something about the bird life, which is called the. There's plenty of bird life in Kanha. We will talk about this as well. Prey, which is so important for the predators, is also very important. And Kanha has plenty of prey, which makes it a very good hunting ground for the predators, including the spotted deer, the Barasinga, and plenty of deer variety of deers. We have the Indian bison, which is also one of the available in plenty inside this park. The friend of the forest, the macaques and langurs. The Indian wild dog is quite special and can be seen in plenty at the Kanha Tiger Reserve. It's called the dole in local language, and you have plenty of them. Then you have the leopard, plenty of leopards as well. This is a female leopard that we spotted on one of our visits. The tiger, this is what everybody generally goes to tiger reserves to see. This is one of the tigers that we have seen on our tiger safaris in the park. And especially, as everyone will tell you, summer is generally the best time for this activity. This is the famous Munna tiger of Kanha that lived up to the age of 16 years and one of the longest living tigers in the Kanha Tiger Reserve. Actually, Munna is a legend, and if time permits, we will talk about him. This is the picnic break that you normally have at the Kanha Tiger Reserve. When you have done your morning safari, you come to the meeting point, and where you can always sit down and have your breakfast before you start the next part of the morning safari. So Kanha actually has plenty to offer. These are a few slides, but we will start the discussion soon. Basically, this program is produced by Lorient Travels. We are recognized by India Tourism as an inbound tour operator. We are 33 years old. Our websites are lorienttravels.webnode.com and indianyatra.com. You can contact us for bookings. We have our email address as well as we have our phone numbers. Okay, can you put everybody on mute, please? Rita?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a little bit about us. Lorient Travels has been doing a lot of inbound travel to India. India is our special subject. We have a great deal of attachment and fondness for this beloved country and beautiful country. So I will now proceed to my question answer session with Eric. Just a second before I stop the share of this. Okay, Eric, this was just a small brief glimpse of the park, and viewers, you must have also seen it's a very small snapshot of the park. And I do hope over the next 1 hour, Eric will give us more information and he will enlighten us on the important facets of this very fascinating tiger reserve. So I will start with my questions to Eric. And my first question to you, Eric, is how does one explain your tremendous love and affection for Kanha, considering you have been here for 34 years and you are originally from Mangalore in South India?
Hector, I graduated in Mangalore, but then I came to Bombay and joined the Bombay Natural History Society in the capacity of a research assistant. And during my research work, I traveled widely across from Tamil Nadu to Ladakh and stayed in various sanctuaries and national parks. And I lived in Madhya Pradesh for a couple of years at Karera Great Indian Bastard Sanctuary before going to Ladakh. And in 1986, I visited Kanha for the first time. I was offered a job as a senior naturalist, but then I had not confirmed with the company. I just come to visit. I wanted to see what they were doing. You know, what I discovered then, though I had heard about Kanha and the famous park, the Tiger Reserve, my Kanha Tiger Reserve is not just a core and buffer, which I realized. I mean, it's beyond the you know, the map of Kanha. The people of Kanha. When I say people of Kanha, it's predominantly a tribal population. There are two tribes here, the Gonds and the Baigas. And they are such simple people. And they're so knowledgeable, their attachment. And simple, yet they are very original people, peace-loving people. And their intricate relationship with the park had a strong influence on me. And I, you know, grew more and more attached to the people and also the landscape. So for me, Kanha is not just a park. I mean, the whole is people. I always tell when I interact with people who come stay with me, when you come to Kanha, you can't separate the tribal and the tiger. They have lived together for centuries in harmony and peace because they knew how to live with nature. No complaints. They have never complained about the comforts that they were, you know, missing. Simple mud houses, handmade country tiles, bamboo roof. Yet they were happy. There was no. When I came to Kanha in 1986, there was no electricity. We had to live with hurricane lamps. There were no proper roads. There was no communication. I was thrilled. I said, "This is the ultimate place I want to live in." Simple lives, yet original. They were so down to earth. People were connected with the with nature, and that really made me stay back for so long.
Yeah, so that's good. That's nice to hear, Eric. Thank you for this insight and details about this very good coexistence between the tribals and the locals and the park itself. I think that has been the most predominant aspect of this particular park. Eric, I just request you to speak a little bit louder. come closer
Okay.
to the mic. And my next question to you is, can you explain the significance between preserving habitat and human existence? What's the great connection between these two things?
Well, Hector, at the outset, let me put it very straight. Can human beings as a species remove themselves from the ecosystem or the naturally existing habitats? No. What we are seeing today all over the world, the so-called climate change, the global warming, all these are the results of poor exploitation of nature and natural resources. We have, cut down the mountains, we have chopped the forests, we are causing artificial floods. The water doesn't percolate. In summer, we have severe water crisis. Number of problems, not just one or two. So much so, and in a country like India, I mean, in the last 5-6 decades, the amount of damage that we have done to the environment, and today we can see the fallout. I mean, the floods, the hills and mountains coming down. The highways getting blocked, the rivers are flooded, the bridges are getting washed away. I mean, there is definitely visible, damage to the surface of the planet, which we are seeing now. I mean, earlier they used to say this will happen after 30 years, 50 years, 100 years. No, it's happening right in front of us. So, keeping a balance and preserving nature. So I feel sometimes, it's already we are too late perhaps, but whatever we have, whatever we can hold on to, if we can save that, at least save for our children, for the coming generations, which is very important. Reforestation, getting the degraded land back, doing massive replantation, reforestation. But let me be very clear, whenever we do reforestation, it has to be with the native trees, not the exotic, fast-growing trees. We are very good in creating, forests so quickly, which is not good in the long run, because there are so many interlinked species, right from the insects to the birds that feed on the nesting sites. So many things interconnected, which we cannot deny. So preserving naturally existing systems, pristine systems, is very, very important. It's for our own future.
Eric, I think that there is one particular line that I like a lot, is that I think it's important for all of us. It is like, maybe you will agree with me. It is that if the tiger survives, the forest will survive. And if the forest survives, humans will survive. So I think at this is one line I like to quote all the time. And because mainly because of the abundant supply that the forest provides to whole of humanity. And I think that is so very important for all of us, because the water will not come into a dam unless it is produced first. The dam is not a self-producing water system. So I think it's so important that for the good health of the forest is the, the survival of the king of the forest, which is the tiger. But I'm not underplaying the importance of the other species, flora, fauna as well. But I think this is one line I like to quote all the time, considering that my small association with the forest. I will go to the next question, Eric. And this question is, how many varieties of birds have you spotted in this park? What inspired you to write a book on the birds of Kanha?
Well, a lot of my work before coming to Kanha was mainly on the bird species, including the taxonomy, cataloging of the collection of the BNHS, and my work on the Great Indian Bustard, black-necked crane. In fact, my first project with the BNHS was bird migration study. So, though I started my career with the snakes, I was intrigued by the snakes and their secret life. So later, once I joined the Bombay Natural History Society and worked under Dr. Salim Ali, Mr. Human Abdul Ali, I suddenly became attached to birds. And when I came to Kanha in 86, 87, I saw some of the birds so close for the first time, like for example, the gold-fronted chloropsis or the leaf bird, such a stunningly beautiful bird. I did not even need binoculars to watch those birds feeding on, the nectar. So I decided till then, to be very honest with you, uh, I used to go for safaris. Even the park guides, they did not know many birds. They thought the importance of a safari was only to show a tiger or the gaur or a leopard or some deer. They thought only if you show your guests some big mammals, that was it. But I introduced many guides to bird watching, and I told them how, I showed them how to identify, how to record, how to write. And that is what made me, there was no comprehensive checklist of the birds of Kanha. So the checklist which I published, I worked for 10 years to collect all my notes and collected all the records, the previous records of Madhya Pradesh, right from Central India, right from 1912, 1913. Just to, give you an example, I recorded the crimson sunbird, which was earlier known as the yellow-backed sunbird. I recorded the bird around 2000. Uh, Prior to my reporting, my record, there was only one record of a crimson sunbird for Madhya Pradesh. That was also a bird that was shot at Logurghat by the then curator of Nagpur Museum in 1911. So I thought of publishing a comprehensive checklist so that people who come to Kanha can enjoy birds. And today I'm really proud. Today the park guides, most of them can show you easily about 50 to 60 species of birds, and I'm really glad about it.
Thank you. Yes, I think on a normal safari day, you at least would spot about at least 20 to 30 very easily when you go on one
Correct.
safari in the inside the park. So I think the abundance of Kanha's bird life is something all wildlife enthusiasts enjoy when they visit the park, and that is something one of the the great marvels of this beautiful park. My next question to you, Eric, is between 96 and today, what was the big difference you noticed? I first visited this reserve in 1990 or 91. And what is the big difference that you see between then and now? I think for sure parks are better managed now than then. But what are the other differences?
You mean between 1986 and 2020, correct?
Yeah, I think the park has grown quite a lot in the sense that, the growth has been quite big. Then it was quite barren. I think visitors also were quite few.
Yes. See, the biggest single largest difference, if you ask me, would be the communication network, the techniques, the management techniques have changed a lot. We are using a lot of technology now. See, the communication, it's almost like a revolution. The mobile network, is not only in the park, in the buffer, in the surrounding areas. There was a time when the forest guard living in a remote camp would carry the huge truck batteries, just to keep his wireless set alive. They used to literally carry it on a bicycle. But today, they are all equipped with walkie-talkies. Most of the camps have solar power. They have solar powered motor pumps for water, and better management techniques. Even the mouths of the elephants, they have been equipped with cameras and walkie-talkies. So anything new that they see, including the birth of a litter, if a tigress has littered, they will photograph, they will record. Identification of tigers. Earlier, it was all through pug mark techniques. They would trace the pug mark of a tiger on a tiger tracer, and And then they used to compare, and there was always scope for error. But today, we have the infrared cameras. It's all camera trap technology. And of course, it's not easy. They take a lot of time to, because no two tigers have similar markings, either the facial markings or the flanks, the stripes. So it takes a lot of time to match them. But at least we can identify right from a small cub to an adult tiger. We can track their movements. We can trace, and better management techniques. Of course, the technology has helped us a lot, and of course, science has grown. The forest guards are better trained, better equipped. Today, we have the uh, the tracker. So many things, and life was very difficult during the rainy season for those the frontline staff living in those forest camps. We have well over 170 of those camps in remote areas. Now, because today they can communicate easily, the patrolling staff can reach a spot if there is any trouble very fast. Accessibility is better. The wooden bridges have been replaced with proper permanent bridges. Of course, they're not huge bridges, but still, during the rainy season, the top management can reach the spot if there is any trouble, including treating a tiger if he is sick, injured. Tranquilizing a tiger is much easier now than before. So there is a huge change.
Yeah, this thanks, Eric. This just reminds me of the time we used to give the solar lamps to the patrolling camps, which I did for a few years.
Yes.
And I used to come as part of my CSR. I went and I think we donated about 50 solar lamps to the park over a period of 3 or 4 years. And I think that was in between 2010 to 2013. And I think now now the camps are all well equipped, and I think there is much more easier communication as well as accessibility to all these rangers inside the park. Thanks, Eric. My next question to you is,
Correct.
what is why is the Barasinga not seen in other reserves, and why only at Kanha? Why is it so endemic only to Kanha?
Okay, let me make one thing very clear. The Barasinga is also known as a swamp deer. Now, what is unique, I'll come to it next. There are 3 subspecies of the swamp deer or the Barasinga in India. The wetland swamp deer, which is in the north in the Tarai. Then there is one in the northeast in Kaziranga and other parts of northeast India. Now, the central Indian Barasinga or the swamp deer, you can't actually call it a swamp deer, though it is a subspecies of the swamp deer. The central Indian Barasinga, over several thousand years, it got isolated from the typical wetland swamp deer, and they adapted to the hard ground conditions of central India. So that's why it is also known as the hard ground Barasinga. Now, unlike the classic wetland swamp deer, which where they have splayed hooves for the swampy conditions, the hard ground Barasinga has the close-knit hooves for the hard ground conditions because they spend a lot of time on the hard ground. And they were quite widespread once upon a time. But due to the habitat loss and human pressure, they just got confined only to a small area in Kanha. And at one point in 1972, their number had gone down to just 66. They were on the brink of extinction. Now, Kanha was the last remaining natural habitat. Now, fortunately for us and for the Barasingas, Project Tiger in 73 came as a big blessing. So when they protected the park, even the Barasingas got protection, and timely management actions to save this subspecies from extinction. It really paid off. I mean, the Barasingha Conservation